Dr. Elena Sproge was a geologist who, in 2024, led a deep drilling project in Siberia, Russia. Her team had set out to explore the deepest layers of the Earth's crust, hoping to find new mineral deposits. But what they discovered was far more than they could have ever imagined. At a depth of 15 kilometers, where the temperature reached 200 degrees Celsius, their drill suddenly broke into a hollow space. At first, they thought it was a large underground cave system, but then they saw light, a light coming from below. "That's impossible," whispered Elena, staring at the video feed from the camera lowered into the depth. "There's light, and I see something moving." The camera showed a vast underground chamber that looked like a gigantic city. The buildings were made of some crystalline material that glowed from within, and between the buildings moved people, or rather, beings that resembled people. "They're taller," observed Elena, "about 2 meters, and their skin, it's bluish, almost glowing." A week later, Elena's team had prepared a safe path to the underground city. They lowered an elevator and began their descent. The temperature in the underground city was perfect, about 22 degrees, and the air was fresh and clear. The first person they met was a woman who looked mature but was as tall as Elena. Her skin was bluish with a silvery shimmer, and her eyes were large and dark, with no whites. "You are from above," said the woman in Latvian, though with a strange accent. "We have been waiting for you." "How do you know our language?" asked Elena. "We know much," replied the woman. "My name is Zara. I am the leader of our city. Follow me." Zara led them through the city, which was much larger than they had first imagined. The buildings were constructed from a crystalline material that emitted light, illuminating the entire city. The streets were wide and clean, and in the air they could hear music coming from nowhere. "How do you live here?" asked Elena. "Where do you get food? How do you breathe?" "You ask the right questions," smiled Zara. "Our civilization has existed for 50,000 years. We have developed technologies unknown to you." She led them into a large building that looked like a laboratory. Strange machines and devices were visible, operating without electricity or fuel. "Our source of energy is a crystalline material we call the Stone of Life," explained Zara. "It absorbs heat from the Earth's core and converts it into energy. Our food is grown in special chambers where plants grow without sunlight, and our breathing is different. Our lungs are larger and more efficient." But then Elena saw something even more astonishing. One of the underground dwellers touched a crystal, and the crystal began to change color from blue to green. "How does that work?" asked Elena. "Our bodies have evolved to interact directly with the crystals," replied Zara. "We can control their energy with our thoughts. It's like telekinesis, but with crystals." After a week, Elena's team had learned much about the underground civilization. They discovered that these people had created a society without money, without weapons, without hatred. They lived in harmony with their environment and with one another. "We have learned from your mistakes," said Zara. We have seen how you destroy your planet through war and pollution. We chose a different path. But then the great conflict arose. One of Elena's team members, Dr. Andres, had sent a message to the surface about their discovery. 2 weeks later, military units from various countries arrived at the underground city. "You cannot stay here," said Zara. "Your governments want to control our technologies. But our technologies work only with our bodies. You cannot use them." Elena realized she had caused a great problem. She had revealed a civilization that had lived peacefully for thousands of years. And now she had doomed it. "What can we do?" asked Elena. "You can help us disappear," answered Zara. "We are ready to go even deeper underground, where you cannot reach us. But we want you to know we are your brothers and sisters. We evolved from the same ancestors." Alina understood that the underground inhabitants were a branch of humankind that had evolved differently. They had chosen to live underground after a great catastrophe that occurred 50,000 years ago. They had learned to live in harmony with nature and with one another. "But why don't you help us?" asked Elena. "Why don't you show us how to live better?" "Because you are not ready," answered Zara. "You still think in terms of power and control. You still wage wars and destroy. We will wait until you are ready." A month later, the military units left the underground city empty. All the inhabitants had gone, leaving behind only vacant buildings and crystals that no longer glowed. Alina returned to the surface filled with deep sadness. She had discovered something wonderful, but she had destroyed it. She realized that the underground civilization had shown her what humanity could be, a civilization living in harmony, without hatred or destruction. They were right, thought Alina. We are not ready. We still think about power and control. We still fight and destroy. But Alina also realized she had learned something vital. She had seen that another kind of civilization was possible, one that lived in harmony with nature and with itself, a civilization that used technology to help, not to destroy. Maybe one day we will be ready, thought Alina. Maybe one day we will learn to live as they do. Alina decided never to reveal the discovery to anyone. She knew it would only bring more trouble. But she also knew she could never forget what she had seen. Maybe they will return, thought Alina. Maybe they will return when we are ready. Alina continued her work as a geologist, but she could never look at the Earth the same way again. She knew that beneath her feet lived people who had learned to live better than she had. People who had developed technologies in harmony with nature. People who had chosen peace and love. Maybe one day, thought Alina, maybe one day we all will be ready. Alina died in 2075, at the age of 101. She never revealed the discovery of the underground civilization, but she never forgot what she had seen. Her last words were, "They will return. They will return when we are ready." And perhaps she was right. Perhaps the underground civilization still exists, waiting for the day when humanity will be ready to live in harmony with nature and with one another. waiting for the day when humanity will be ready to choose peace and love. Waiting for the day when humanity will be ready to become better.